Welcome to this brand new episode of the Pantheon, the show where we look at the top 5 cards for any given commander. Today we're going to be having a look at one of the new Stixhaven legendaries, or at least one half of them, and that half is Embrose, Dean of Shadow, who comes in at 4 mana. Now, his name reminds me of Ambrosia custard, which is really delicious. Don't know if you guys have that over there wherever you live, but it's delicious. I'd very much recommend eating it. So his abilities. He's a human warlock, and you can tap him to put a 1/1 counter on another target creature. Then Ambrosia, Dean of Shadows, deals 2 damage to that creature. Really cool, nice bit of removal, and it also buffs something potentially. Whenever a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it dies, draw a card. A really nice suite of abilities. The card drawing is very, very nice, and also nice bit of removal. He's also a 4/4, so he's a nice blocky man. He's come straight from Minecraft. So, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be using these abilities to create a nice little interesting deck. The main thing we're going to be focusing on is the tap ability. I think it's very unique, and it's something that we've not really seen before. So, with that said, coming in at number 5, we have Bellowing Aegisaur, a 6 mana 3/5. Wow. He also has Enrage. Whenever it is dealt damage, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. So, it's going to absolutely buff our team, so if our creatures die, they all draw us cards. Really, really cool. To go along with this, we've got a couple of other cards which, also benefit very much from being targeted. High Priest of Penance is a 2 mana 1/1. Whenever it is dealt damage, you may destroy a target non-land permanent. So, unfortunately, it's a 1/1, so we put a counter on it, it's a 2/2, but then it dies straight away to the damage. We need to have buffed it slightly before we start targeting it. But, excellent bit of removal. Fantastic. Herald of War is a 5 mana 3/3 with flying, and whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Angel spells and human spells you cast cost however many 1/1 counters less to cost that is on Herald. So if we keep building up counters on this, it just keeps making our spells cheaper and cheaper. Really cool. Trapjaw Tyrant is a 5 mana 5/5 with Enrage, and whenever it's dealt damage, exile target creature an opponent controls until Trapjaw Tyrant leaves the battlefield. So again, we can keep building this up, keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger with counters, and exile our opponent's creatures. Coming in at number 4, we have Archetype of Finality. 6 mana 2/3. These stat lines. Creatures you control have Deathtouch. Creatures your opponents control lose Deathtouch and can't have or gain Deathtouch. So the main reason we're putting this in is Ambrosia deals damage to our opponents, to our creatures. So if we target our opponent's creatures, he's gonna kill anything that he targets, regardless of if he, say it's a 20/20, we target it with it, it's got Deathtouch, dies straight away. Similar to this, we've got Basilisk Collar, which is a 1 mana equipment. Quick creature has Deathtouch and Lifelink, so we're going to be gaining life as well. Equip cost of 2. Excellent, and as we're playing black-white, we can tutor this up using a number of different tutors. Stoneforge Mystic, Stonehewer Giant, those sorts of things. Void Beckoner is a 8 mana Deathtouch 8/8, but it also has Cycling, the best ability ever printed in Magic. And when you cycle it, put a Deathtouch counter on target creature you control. So you can put it straight onto Ambrosia, or Endbringer up here, who's a 6 mana 5/5, who untaps during each other player's untap step. He can deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So if we give this thing Deathtouch every single turn, we're going to be bing, 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 killing everyone's stuff. He also has the ability of a colorless and tap, target creature can't block or attack this turn, or 2 colorless, draw a card. So a nice little card draw engine. So, we've given our commander Deathtouch. What else can we do with him? Thornbite Staff is a fantastic card. 2 mana artifact equipment. Quick creature has, pay 2, tap. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Now we're not really interested in that. We could give it to one of our Deathtouch creatures and then that gives them the tap ability. But the main thing we're interested in, and whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this creature. If our commander has Deathtouch and we keep targeting, so every time we target something and kill something, it's going to untap. We can wipe the entire board of all creatures just using our commander and Deathtouch and Thought by Staff. Really, really cool. There is another bit of sex. Whenever a shaman creature comes into play, you may attach the Thornback Staff to it. That's not interesting in the slightest to us. We're not going to use that at all. Quick cost of 4. Similar to this, we've got a couple of other untapped sort of abilities. Sword of the Payrunes is a 4-mana equipment. As long as a quick creature is tapped, tapped creatures you control get +2/+0. As long as a quick creature is untapped, untapped creatures get +0/+2. This could really work in our benefit with a couple of cards that we've got coming up, especially the +0/+2. Could be very useful. And we can pay 3 to tap or untap equipped creature. So for 3 mana, we can keep bringing our commander back and tapping him over and over again. 1000-Year Elixir is a 3-mana artifact. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. So we can use our commander as soon as he comes in. And you can pay 1 to untap target creature. So we get another use out of him. Scythe of the Wretched is a really, really cool card. 2-mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. So quite cool. Our commander would be a 6/6. You can get in for some damage. But whenever a creature deals damage to a equipped creature, whenever a creature dealt damage by a equipped creature this turn is put into a graveyard, return that card to play under your control. Attach Scythe of the Wretched to that creature. So if we've got a couple of little things that we want to steal, Scythe of the Wretched works fantastically for that. As we were saying, Pestilence. We want to control the board, and there's a couple of ways that we can do that. Pestilence is a 4-mana enchantment. At the end of turn, if there are no creatures in play, sacrifice Pestilence. Okay, hopefully we're going to keep our commander in play. Pestilence deals 1 damage to each creature and each player for 1 black. Then there's Pestilence Demon, which is exactly the same text, except it's on a flying 7/6 and costs 8 mana. And then an interesting card here, Shriveling Rot, is a 4-mana instant. Choose 1. Until end of turn, whenever a creature is dealt damage, destroy it. Or, until end of turn, whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, that creature's control loses life equal to its toughness. So, essentially, you can give our commander Deathtouch. And, whenever a creature dies, deals loads of damage. Can absolutely hose a board. You can really win with this card, and even if a board wipe's incoming, you can cast Shriveling Rot, and if your opponent has a large board presence, they're going to be taking a ton of damage from all of their creatures. It's very good. But coming at number 2, we've got Tombstone Stairwell, a personal favourite card of mine, a 4-mana enchant world. Cumulative upkeep of 2. So the first upkeep you have to pay 2, then 4, then 6, then 8 to keep this around. But it's very much worth it. During each upkeep, each player puts into play a Tombspawn token for each summon card in his or her graveyard. Treat those tokens as 2/2 black creatures that are unaffected by summoning sickness and count them as zombies. At the end of turn, or if Tombstone Stairwell is play, bury all those tokens, which means destroy. So, why is this good? Our commander, if our creatures have +1/+1 counters, our commander allows us to draw cards. So each turn with this, if we manage to put 1/1 counters on them, we're going to be drawing a ton of cards as they're all destroyed. So, how are we going to get 1/1 counters onto these creatures that are only here for a little time? Cathar's Crusade is a 5-mana enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So, we have, say, 8 creatures in our graveyard. 8 tokens come in. They all get +8/+8 or +7/+7. I don't know. Point is, they've got tons of counts on them, so they can attack straight away. Absolutely massive. Together Forever is an interesting enchantment that I've always had a soft spot for. 2 mana, when it enters the battlefield, support 2. So, not very good for our Tombspawn tokens, but choose target creature with a counter on it. When that creature dies this turn, return that card to its owner's hand. If we can get counters on all of our creatures, this helps protect them. Just by paying 1 mana, we can bring them back, and then any enter the battlefield effects we can reuse. Mikaeus the Lunac is a 1 mana and X creature. When it enters the battlefield, it comes in with X +1/+1 counters. Can tap him to put a 1/1 counter on Mikaeus, or tap him, remove a 1/1 counter from Mikaeus, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. So, the Tombspawns come in, we tap him, give everything a 1/1 counter, attack, Everything dies. We draw 18 cards. It's great. Basri's Lieutenant doesn't really give 1/1 counters, but he's very good with 1/1 counters. So he has Vigilance, Protection from Multicolor, and when he enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever Basri's Lieutenant or another creature you control dies, if it had a 1/1 counter on it, create a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. So, if we can give all of our creatures 1/1 counters, we're going to have in a board wipe comes, we're going to have an army left over. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. The retreat down there, get its actual name. I'll tell you what, give me a second. Oh. Hey! Felidar Retreat is a 4-mana enchantment with landfall. So that means it triggers whenever a land enters the battlefield. Create a 2/2 white beast token. Or put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. Great little enchantment. Does everything we want, makes tokens, gives everything counters. Then, Grave Betrayal is a 7-mana enchantment with whenever a creature you don't control dies, return it to the battlefield under your control with an additional +1/+1 counter on it at the beginning of the next end step. That creature is a zombie in addition to its other types. So, we write the board, we've got an army left over with 1/1 counters on it. It's absolutely fantastic. Moving swiftly on to number 1. It's Puppeteer Click. A 5-mana 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste. At the beginning of your next end step, exile it. And now, most importantly, it has Persist. So that means whenever this creature dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. This is important because our commander gives -1/-1 counters. So if we've had Puppeteer Click die once, he'll come back with a -1/-1 counter as a 2/1. We tap our commander, target the Puppeteer Click. It puts a 1/1 counter on it, making it a 3/2, and then deal 2 damage to it. So it dies straight away, and then comes back with Persist. So we can steal another one of our opponent's creatures. This can, if we have, a Thornbite Staff, so we'll keep on tapping. We don't even need Deathtouch. It's fantastic. We can create an incredibly large incredibly large army that can attack this turn. And we've also exiled our opponent's graveyard. It's great. To go along with this, we've got Twilight Shepherd, which is a 6-mana 5/5 with Persist and Flying and Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, return to your hand all cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. So a board wipe comes. This comes back, brings all of our creatures back to our hand. But then if we target it with our commander, it loses the -1/-1 counter by the +1/+1 counter, cancelling it out. And then we can do it all again. Excellent bit of protection. Lesser Masticore is a 2-mana 2/2. When you additional cast a cost it, discard a card. Pay 4, Lesser Masticore deals 1 damage to target creature. Then Persist. So, if we give this Deathtouch, we've got a way of pinging. And because we can cancel out that -1/-1 counter, we can just keep bringing it back. Altar of Dementia is a great little sack outlet. So, if we do have a persistent way of giving everything +1/+1, we can keep sacrificing it and it'll keep coming back. And mill out our opponents. To go along with this, we've got a couple of cool little sack outlets. Vishkal Blood Arbiter is a 7-mana 5/5 with Flying and Lifelink. Sacrifice a creature, put X +1/+1 counters on Vishkal Blood Arbiter, where X is that sacrificed creature's power. Remove all +1/+1 counters from him. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each +1/+1 counter removed. Yahani Undying Partisan is a 3-mana 2/2 with haste. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Yahani. Sacrifice another creature. He gains indestructible until end of turn. Finally, we've got Krav the Unredeemed, which we actually can partner because Regna is white. She's not very good. She's a big, massive 6-mana flyer that cares about life gain, and we couldn't care less about life gain in this deck. But he's a 5-mana 3/3 with the ability to pay black, sacrifice X creatures, target player draws X card and gains X life. Put X 1/1 counters on Krav. Really cool, can really refill your hand, and sometimes you just want to sack your entire board. It's really good. And that is my top 5 cards for this brand new commander. I think he's really quite cool. The fact that his tap ability has so many different uses is really fun to build around, and hopefully you can find some good ways to use it. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon.